NBA also has an old dude trying to bolster his GOAT credentials with more hardware. Are you following along with Deshaun Watson as he tries to get traded? Hey, in the NBA, we already know how the big trade involving the frustrated Houston superstar turns out. Do you agree with the NFL's decision to cancel its All-Star Pro Bowl for COVID reasons? Well, in the NBA, never mind on that one. Anyway, the point is, even in a pandemic, it is already turning into another breakneck season in the association. And for those of you who have had your attention split by football over the past few months, here is a brief timeline of what you have missed so far. December 1 kicked off the weirdest preseason ever after the shortest offseason in NBA history. The Lakers and Heat were openly exhausted. Giannis was debating his supermax with the Bucks, and the entire league was engaged in a game of Where's Waldo as James Harden kept showing up everywhere except Rockets training camp. The Clippers gave Paul George a pile of money, which he vowed to earn.
I owe him a trophy. That's what I owe this organization. This is a window that we're trying to capture, and my commitment and my job is to try to bring a title here.
Meanwhile, out east, Kyrie Irving was doing his best Phil Jackson impression, burning sage in Boston Garden. Why not? While Kevin Durant let everyone know he was indeed still Kevin Durant. And coronavirus showed it is still coronavirus. I don't think we're in a bubble anymore, Toto. We saw the Trailblazers have to shut down their practice facility. In Milwaukee, Giannis finally put pen to paper, breaking the hearts of front office execs from Miami to Dallas. And then right before Christmas, opening night, the Lakers got their rings. We had the people of Seattle rejoicing with revived talk of expansion. Master P and Baron Davis offered to buy Adidas. Becky Hammond made history. The Rockets' John Wall showed he is still John Wall after 2 years on the shelf. Woo! Yeah. Games were postponed due to COVID. Then more games were postponed. Then still more, prompting the NBA to stop allowing players to have outside visitors when on the road. The Wizards stopped being able to even practice. Kyrie stopped coming to games. The Sixers offered Ben Simmons for James Harden, but the Rockets instead dealt him to Brooklyn, creating one of the most potent offensive teams of all time. Victor Oladipo was dealt to the Rockets. Kyrie came back. The Nets defense, not quite so much. Steph Curry balled out. So did Bradley Beal, Nikola Jokic, CJ McCollum, and Joel Embiid. LeBron turned a Cavaliers employee taunting him into a 46-point night of revenge. Damian Lillard hit a game-winning crazy buzzer beater again.
5 seconds left. Covington trying to get it to Dame. He puts it on the floor. Step back three from Dame.
Oh, and Derrick Rose is back in New York again. No, really. So there, you are all caught up. Just wait until you see what happens next. We've got Paul Pierce joining us now. Welcome into you, Paul. And let's start with you. Who do you think is the most intriguing storyline in the NBA this season, Mr. Pierce?
Well, I have to go with the All-Star game right now because, you have your top players talking about they're not excited about it. And I hear guys like LeBron, Antetokounmpo, these guys are major players in our game. And then I'm finding out that they have an option if they want to go or not without being fined. So, that's a big concern for me, one of our biggest games of the year.
Well, my number one thing that I think, for this season is really the honeymoon stories. Right. We see, we know what Giannis can do in the regular season. We know a Doc Rivers led team. 76ers are playing great. Joel Embiid is having one of his best seasons ever, literally one of the top 2 or 3 guys when it talks about MVP. But we know that Doc Rivers and a Doc Rivers led team is going to be judged by the postseason. We look at Paul George, and this guy is, after a struggle postseason last year, he's having one of the most epic seasons. He's averaging 20 points a game on 50, 40, 90. That's only been done by like 5 guys in NBA history, and it was done by Larry Bird twice. But everyone in Clipper Nation knows the only thing that matters is how you play in the postseason. So between Giannis, between a Doc Rivers-led team, and between Paul George, it's like, hey, these regular seasons are great. Everyone is waiting for the postseason to see how these guys perform. That's the most intriguing story for me this season.
Do you guys feel that now that we're up and running, this really is a season. There were some questions before we started of empty arenas, right, with no fans, and schedules were going to be weird, and guys were going to be coming in and out in the lineup. I still feel like there has been some really exceptional basketball, and the NBA is continuing. Richard, do you get that vibe? You're calling so many games right now.
No, I do get that vibe. You look at having Steph Curry back and having the Warriors be relevant again. It's just great basketball, seeing him play and do what we've always known. You know, obviously LeBron and AD are right there at the top of the West where they should be. But again, it's those little sub-stories. Again, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, can they take that next little jump in their second year in Clipperland? There's been so many great stories. Even the young players, LaMelo Ball, Halliburton in Sacramento, which I really think has an opportunity to win Rookie of the Year after sliding in the draft. So there's been great stories all year long, and I think they're only going to kind of build as the season progresses.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you hit it right on the nose, Richard. I mean, just seeing Steph back out there and go for 57 the other day, watching Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie team up, these are definitely intriguing stories. And, you know, hey, what's going to happen with the Clippers? Can they bounce back from last year's debacle? And so the games have definitely been exciting. I'm excited to see who's going to make that first-time jump to the All-Star game also. But it's definitely been, despite the circumstances, been an exciting season.
All right. So if you've had your attention split by football, we welcome you back to being all NBA all the time. All right, guys, something a little bit, well, let's not kid ourselves, a lot harder to talk about. When someone dies suddenly, it is such a shock, such a tragedy, it can be hard to see anything else. That is what it felt like last night when we got word about Pedro Gomez. Everything turns pitch black. It was hard to breathe. Not Pedro. No, not one more in this year of never-ending death. Not one of the kindest, funniest, smartest, sweetest, most accomplished men that has graced your television over the past couple decades. Pedro covered more than 25 World Series, more than 20 All-Star games, and won all sorts of awards, but those are just the numbers. As the Gomez family shared in a statement on Sunday saying, quote, Pedro was far more than a media personality. He was a dad, loving husband, loyal friend, coach, and mentor. He was our everything, his kids' biggest believer. ESPN President Jimmy Pitaro added this, quote, Pedro was an elite journalist at the highest level, and his professional accomplishments are universally recognized. More importantly, Pedro was a kind, dear friend to us all. Our hearts are with Pedro's family and all who love him at this extraordinarily difficult time. Gomez was the son of Cuban parents who came to Miami just before his birth. He was fiercely and rightfully so proud of them. And when in 2016 he accompanied the Tampa Bay Rays on a trip to Havana, he brought the ashes of his father and brother to scatter there at the family home. I remember talking to him after he got home from that trip. It was a great conversation, but then again, they all were with Pedro. He and I were actually hired here at ESPN within months of each other, and ESPN can be a place that's hard to navigate. So we had a lot of talks, a lot of texts back and forth as we found our way. I knew then how lucky I was to have him have my back, have that friendship that would go on to span more than 17 years. So today, that is what I am trying to remember. All of the amazing moments, all of the incredible times, those colors, those pictures of a life so well lived, and not the blackness that came out last night. Let's remember Pedro the way we always saw him, smiling. Rest in peace, my friend.
Little playground. Look at that. Look, that's creativity. That's what we're missing in today's game. We don't see a lot of that type of creativity. Not like
no. That reminds me of when Steph threw it up under Vladdy's arm and tried to shoot it.
That's nice.
Look at that.
Put that man in an NBA uniform.
Miss recognition. Let's go to Heat Knicks. Obi Toppin wanting the lob, but it just isn't coming, Paul. Look at him. Look at him.
Oh, my gosh. What is going on? They must don't believe in this. I know this guy can jump, but they haven't got that chemistry down yet. I don't know.
This man, he was one of the most electric athletes in college basketball last year. Windmill dunks, dunking on everyone, and these guys cannot get him a lob. As a guy that only dunked for a living, that's one of the more frustrating positions to be in. When you're like, look,
true.
Look at this. Well, but look, for the most, when I was a rookie, that's all I did. So
Yes.
I know what he's dealing with, you know.
As someone who sat there during your rookie year, yes, I'm going to back you up on that, Richard. Make peaches an herb. Oh, yes. We're going old school here. Wall and Boogie are reunited, and it feels so good. No, I can't sing. I know. It's bad. It's. I shouldn't do that on national
That was really
television.
bad.
I know.
Look at that, but they're bad. Hey, for anybody that wants to know Klay Thompson, will he be back after an ACL and an Achilles? Look at what John Wall has been doing.
Kevin Durant.
Look at what Kevin Durant has been doing, and look at what Boogie Cousins. These guys are going, like, Klay Thompson's going to be back. It's so great to have John Wall back out there on the floor despite the injuries, and Boogie Cousins. These guys have been working their tails off to get on that court.
Absolutely. I'm happy for Boogie. Boogie and John Wall making comeback players of the year. Is that an award in the NBA, comeback player of the year?
Amen, it is. Yeah, do you think they can split it?
Yes, it is.
Miss Bets, Wiz Hornets. Watch LaMelo size up the defender. And then he's like, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just going to hit this triple here. This looks easy for a ball, right, Paul?
Yeah, you know what? If this kid continues to start, which I don't see why not, he's going to be the hands-down rookie of the year because he's nothing short of spectacular, and he just brought some excitement to Charlotte. I mean, come on now. Everybody want to watch the Charlotte Hornets. When the last time you said that?
I agree, but I'm telling you, I love Tyrese Halliburton. I love what he's doing. It's so impressive. Mm-hmm. I love what LaMelo's doing. But these two guys are so important to their team. I don't want to just give it to LaMelo. I think Halliburton has something that he has to say about that, and he's been playing extremely well.
All right, we'll talk about Sacramento a little more later in the show. Make dad jokes. During the halftime show, Giannis tweeted, I heard Shakira and J-Lo are not performing because it's the weekend and they don't work on Sunday. Do we know that Giannis is officially a dad with this joke, Paul?
Giannis, he's still learning American culture. It was great. It was a great start. He'll get better. Maybe he could take some.
It's like everyone loves them. Kids love giving dad jokes. Moms, everybody loves a good.
That's how Giannis's family feels as well. Miss matchups in both overtime sessions between the Pistons and Lakers. LeBron got Mason Plumlee on an island several times and made him pay. Richard, someone's got to help. That's not fair to Mason. Come on. Where's the help?
Well, that's the thing. When you have a guy that's going to be probably number one in scoring and top 5 in assists, they're
island.
like, hey, we'll leave it. Poor Mason. Look, he did a very good job. I want to compliment the 7-footer out there guarding one of the great scorers this league has ever seen. Look, contested shots, good defense. They got to help. Look, that's not your fault. That's not your fault, Mace. I got your back. That's not your fault, man. That's good defense.
It's a lonely island, Paul. It's a lonely island.
All he needed was some suntan lotion. That's it.
I want to play some post-game sound from LeBron after that double overtime marathon. Take a look here.
I was just ready to go. I'm 36 years old, and I really don't have the heart. I don't have the heart. My heart is not sustainable for 2 overtimes at this point in my career. So I was just ready to go, get home. I got a bottle of wine that's been ready to be opened, and I delayed it for 2 more quarters or 2 more overtimes. So I wasn't happy with myself in that regards.
I know as he was speaking, the both of you were like, I feel you deeply, LeBron. Paul, can you explain why NBA vets don't like free basketball the way fans do?
Listen, when you get to be 36 like LeBron, he just wants to get to that plane or hotel or home and have a bottle of wine. He's upset that he even went into the first overtime. He didn't take care of business. I mean, I feel you, LeBron, because it was a point in my career was like, I'm tired of overtime. Let's get this over. Who cares?
Yeah, you know what? Like he said, he was disappointed in himself because there's nobody else to blame. You got LeBron and AD sitting right there. They went into overtime with the Pistons. Now, mind you, the Pistons have like 4 or 5 wins, and it's against good teams. But ultimately, LeBron James should blame nobody other. than LeBron James. It takes ISOs, one-on-one ISOs for you against Mason Plumlee at the end of a double overtime to seal the game. That is your fault. You're to blame. So you can have an extra glass of wine because you've earned it.
All I know is I can always tell when NBA players turn that corner into being true long-term vets when they say, why can't we be like the NHL? Ties are fine. What's wrong with ties?
No.
There you
it's
go.
America.
Right.
We don't tie.
Coming up, Kevin Durant pulled mid-game on Friday because of COVID-19 contract tracing protocols. We will now look ahead for the Nets at the time he's going to miss. Is it something nothing to acquire Pistons guard Derrick Rose for Dennis Smith Jr. and 2021 second-round draft pick to reunite Rose with coach Tom Thibodeau? Richard, is this something, nothing, or everything?
I think it's something. Ultimately, the Knicks are in a playoff push, and Dennis Smith Jr. was out of the rotation. So to get Derrick Rose, and we've seen the last couple of years, he still has something left in the tank. Is he, the starting guard? Is he this? Is he that? No, but is he a contributor? Does he understand Tom Thibodeau? Does Tom Thibodeau now have an ally that has played with him and his system that understands everything that he's doing? So I think this right here is a sign that the Knicks are trying to make a playoff push, and they believe that they can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's something also, but what's encouraging to watch guys like Derrick Rose. He's at a point in his career he can say, trade me to a contender, and we haven't seen that since he's left Chicago. He had stops in Cleveland, Minnesota, Detroit, and now he's going back to New York. My hat's off to him. He hasn't been a ring chaser. He's comfortable under Coach Tibbs, and hopefully he can help the Knicks get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I love this. I think it's going to be really fun to see them together again. Maybe we can actually get a crowd at the Garden sometime this season to give him some props. I think it's going to be really fun. Looking forward to what they can do. All right, guys, it's time for one of our favorite shows within a show. Oh, yes, the OG show within a show here at The Jump as the Kings turn around. The Sacramento Kings beating the Clippers last night for their fourth straight victory. One of our heroes, leading man Buddy Hield, dropping 22, and De'Aaron Fox led all scorers with 36 points and 7 assists. So, Paul, the Sacramento Kings, as they turn around, is it something, nothing, or everything?
They have to take every little thing they can get out of a season because this team hasn't been to the playoffs in so long, and this 4-game winning streak has been against quality opponents. So it's absolutely something they can build on, and hopefully it's something that can vault them into the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I definitely believe this is something. Before the season started, I came out and tweeted that the Sacramento Kings have the worst starting lineup in basketball. And the Sacramento Kings fans continue to retweet that and send it to me. But look, De'Aaron Fox made a jump that they expected last year, and he made that jump. I think Coach Walton has done a great job. They got Halliburton to slide once a day did, but Halliburton slid to them. And this guy has been amazing. His basketball IQ is off the chart. Buddy Hield has played well. Marvin Bagley has been healthy. These are all of the key components that have led to their success. You get young players making jumps, you draft well, and you get your other young stud to be healthy. This is why this team has a chance to make the postseason. Will they? I think it's going to be tough. I think they have a chance for the play-in game right around that 7, 8, 9 spot. But it is very, very encouraging for Kings fans and for this organization to see all of this young talent starting to put it together.
Well, just to add here, the NBA just announcing that De'Aaron Fox, in fact, won their Western Conference Player of the Week award. Giannis on the Eastern Conference side. And I will say, I really applaud you saying Coach Walton in that highlight package there. Not a way to describe your best friend, one of your closest friends and former roommates, but that was very professional. Really, really.
I'm trying my best.
Really
I'm trying
nice.
my best to be professional. Trying my best.
How's that working out for you?
It's not very well. Not very well.
Last up, let's move on to Kevin Durant, initially pulling from the starting lineup right before tip-off to undergo contact tracing on Friday night. Then cleared to play, entered the game late in the first quarter. Then ordered to exit midway through the third quarter at the direction of the league. It was a mess. Kevin Durant not happy, tweeting, quote, "Free me," and then having an even more lengthy and explicit tweet at the league after that. Richard, as Kevin now sits for the next 3 games for contact tracing, is it something, nothing, or everything?
This is everything, and I'm going to explain to you why. Kevin Durant had a streak of most consecutive starts. It was like Patrick Ewing, Kevin Durant, Carmelo Anthony, and I'm not sure who the next person is. So he was on pace to have this amazing streak. You know, we talk about double digits and consecutive this. He was on pace to break Patrick Ewing's record for consecutive starts. So they pull him right before the game starts. Streak is over. Then they're like, all right, go out there and play. And they're like, no, you can't. So this is something, you know, it's all of this COVID stuff's going to get worked out. But the fact that his 1,000-game streak ended of consecutive starts, that was the part that I kind of feel bad for Kevin Durant.
Yeah, this is absolutely everything. Just the way it went down, because originally he was stated to not play. Then he came, walked on the court, came off the bench, and like for the reasons Richard said. And then he's sitting out 3 games. And another thing, you're going to ask him to come play in the All-Star game that a lot of the stars aren't excited about. This is everything, Rachel. Hey, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of frustration there that Kevin was venting. It was a rough weekend for that from stars around the league. And it is frustrating for guys when they feel like they're getting kind of yo-yoed back and forth. And I know that the league's health and safety people, I really do want to say, they have been faced with just a huge, tall task. And this stuff is hard. There's no precedent for it. They are trying in the end to keep everyone safe. I know from Kevin's side, since he has been open about the fact that he had COVID, he has tested for antibodies. So he sort of feels like, okay, well, why are you holding me out? There is a lot going on here. It is very, very difficult. And it's just one more thing that we hope can become a thing of the past soon enough as we go through getting people in this country vaccinated. All right, coming up, we're going to talk about foul calls, friends. Do NBA stars get gifted with foul calls? We'll discuss this after the break. Keep it locked on the Joints. Went to the line 14 times on Saturday night. After the game, though, Steve Kerr lamenting some of the calls Luka got, where he leaned into defenders who were closing out to contest his shot. So, Paul, you used to get some superstar calls in the league. Do you like the way the rules help high-volume shooters?
I mean, this is an unspoken rule. I mean, the stars of this league get the benefit of the doubt. I mean, that particular play right there, they stopped calling that when you jumped into the defender. But for the most part, superstars get more calls in offense. That's why they're superstars, because they get the benefit of the doubt. They're highly skilled, highly intelligent, and they know how to manipulate the refs.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like gifted calls, it's funny because, you know, you think about what Steph and Kevin Durant, some of these guys have done, you know, that have benefited Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr also played with Tim Duncan. Steve Kerr also played with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. So I would say this, that Steve Kerr is an expert on the subject. I just don't know if he should be the individual complaining about said subject. So, no, I agree with Paul, man. You understand this as when you're guarding stars, when I used to have to guard him, and he used to tell the officials that I was always doing something and they always agreed with him, right? It's like, that's the only way to guard guys. You have to be physical. You have to try and do things. That play in particular, those are ones that I think should just be cut out of the game for safety purposes. And I think that's not the one that people are talking about. But make no mistake that Luka Doncic has spent quite a bit of time complaining that he doesn't get enough calls. So it's like you got both sides of the argument there.
Well, I'm going to let Steve defend himself here because you guys both disagree with him. So here's what he had to say for himself.
I don't fault the officials for making those calls. I fault the league for basically gifting those calls to all of our players. And our guys get them too, you know. To me, it's not a basketball play. You know, if you jump 3 feet forward, I don't think you deserve a foul when all you're doing is looking for the foul. You know, I think the league has done a great job with you know, helping find a really good place for the offensive players to shine, the athleticism to be on display for our fans. But we've gotten out of control with you know, sort of gifting offensive players the ability to deceive the refs or to you know, grab or whatever and, you know, jump 3 feet, 4 feet into a guy and draw a foul. We have to give the defensive player you some benefits of the doubt. And but it's just the officials have to call it. That's the way the league dictates that they call it. So I have no problem with the officials.
So, Paul, part of what he's saying is he thinks that this should change going forward. Do you agree with him?
Well, yeah, I thought that was already a rule. I mean, I remember during my last days of the league that you weren't allowed to jump forward. But, as the rules change each and every year, it's more geared toward the offensive player, and they're going to get the benefit of the doubt more times than not.
Well, and to Steve's point, his players benefit from them also. But there are certain times, like that one on Braun is not so much because he uses the defender and you should never leave your feet. But in the era where we're saying that you have to give players room to land, you can't now jump. You can't give the player space because if you jump forward, they can jump forward into you. And so I look kind of like the Kevin Durant sweep through that became, so famous and so popular. The league is going to constantly adjust because players are always advancing the game. So the referees in the league are typically reactionary in these situations, and they are, doing things in advance.
All right, guys, we will keep an eye, as always. Up next, the Suns now 4th in the Western